I so at this point, I have no scheduled trips. That was my only statement. You said it's gonna be here every day, but no. I didn't say it's gonna be here every day, but I have no scheduled trips right now. I had enough sharing and a corporate outing and all that. All right. Good morning, everybody. Shek for Reese for filling in and Levy. So I was told 11 lines for the top 2 dots. So a quick explanation from the previous Mishnah. Oh, very excellent question. I'm on it a little. Today's daf Pei Zion. Pei Zion Paz. Pez. Yeah, Pazgaz. And away we go. And if the stalks are attached to the ground and he's acquiring it, but Talash Kolshu, any amount that he goes ahead, he detaches Kana, he acquires everything. So the Gemara says, Nishum de Talash Kolshu Kana. Well, just because he normally you want to go ahead and acquire something, you have to go ahead and pick it up, the entire thing. So over here, he's not picking up the entire thing, he's just cutting a little bit. Why should he acquire everything? Lake Karka, go ahead and improve the land, Kolshu any amount. Vikani Komashala, and once you improve it at a little amount, then you have acquired Peizain. Then you have acquired all the grains, and therefore that's the reason, because he met the condition and he improved the land by cutting a little bit, therefore he acquires these standing grains. Fine. Nayan Mishnah. Mishnah says, snack mill of Pei Zayin Amud Aleph. And based off Rabbi Reese's counting, I guess it would be the 15th line from the top. Right? 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah. All right. Anyway. One who goes ahead and he sells wine or oil to his friend, the hukru or shehuzlu, and changes in price. Either it gets more valuable or it becomes cheaper. If it's before, as he measures it out, in other words, over here, you don't just go ahead and open up, right, the fridge and grab a bottle and take the bottle. No, they would go ahead and pour it out. So if it's before he's filling, I want to buy a gallon and he's pouring up the oil to a gallon, and before it's full, all of a sudden the price starts to go up or whatever it is, the seller can say, whoa, I'm not selling it all yet. Right? However, once that the measuring is fully done, then it belongs to the buyer, and therefore, if it went up in value, he gains. The seller can't go ahead and say, no, you got to pay me the new price. It doesn't work. If there was a middleman between them, in other words, one guy is buying wholesale and he sells to individual buyers, then if that breaks, then then since he's using his own kli, we'll soon discuss who's kli, who's doing what. So therefore, since the middleman uses basically his own kli, and the wholesaler he gets, and therefore if something happens to them, it breaks, then the loss is upon him, and so too, any very fluctuation of price while it's with him is with him. Now, when you go ahead and pour it out, let's say I measure you a full amount, right? I measure you a gallon, and I have a bigger thing that I measure in the cup, and I'm going to pour you out the gallon from there, okay? And as I pour it out, it empties, but the viscosity is very thick, right? The viscosity, is that what it is, right? Is very thick of the oil. And first it's coming out, then it slows down, and then it starts to drip. So it says in our Mishnah, you got to go ahead and drip out. You got to turn it upside down, let it all come out. The oil takes a little bit of time, right? And then after it stops coming out, and 3 drops, then you can bring it back. Then you're done. Then you sold the gallon. In other words, yes, there might be a little bit of oil on the bottom, on the sides. That remains with the seller. The buyer doesn't have any claims. Oh, there's a little bit left. No. And not only that, here Kiva, if he leans it back, or pays Zayin Amud Aleph. Here Kiva, Umeitzis, Harehu Shomaicher. And then if he goes ahead and he tips it, then it belongs to the seller. In other words, even though there might be a small amount of buildup, nevertheless, it belongs to the seller. But when it comes to a shopkeeper, the shopkeeper is very busy. So if he goes in and pours out oil, and then he has to wait for 3 drops, right? That takes a lot of time. So right? The shopkeeper, the guy is very busy. He's trying to move long lines. He does not have to go ahead and pour for 3 drops. Rabbi Yehuda says that also not, you know what else is a busy time? Erev Shabbos. Erev Shabbos, people got to move. So you can't go ahead and stand there and waiting and pouring out each one 3 drops. Therefore, you just pour it out. Once it pours out, you don't have to wait for 3 last drops. You're going to immediately turn it back over and take your kli with your, he's potter from giving the last drops. Fine. That was the Mishnah.
Amen.
The Gemara says, all right, now let's go to the first case. So the first case, we're talking about the one who goes ahead and sells wine. Who says, so he buys a gallon, and up until the point where he fills it a gallon, he can go ahead and retract. The seller can retract and says, I want a better price, right? Until it fills up. Now, me did the man who does this kli that he's pouring it into, right, or measuring, right? Who owns that, right? If it's the buyer's I understand if you're pouring it out, if he's pouring it into the kli, right? I bring my cup and I buy 12 ounces, right? Mountain Dew from Eddie, right? So he pours already 3 ounces, right? So it's not, once it goes into my cup, it's mine. Even the 3 ounces. Our Mishnah says once you fill it to 12 ounces, you can no longer retract, right? But until then, you can retract. If you do 3 ounces retract, I understand it's my cup. You pour it in, that's it. So Hamida the mat. So he said that it belongs to the we're going to say it's the seller pouring it into his own kli to measuring it out. So Eddie's selling me the Mountain Dew, and Eddie's pouring it into his own cup for 12 ounces. And even if he fills it to 12 ounces, right? How could you say that Eddie pours? I want to go ahead and buy a cup of Mountain Dew. So he pours out 12 ounces of Mountain Dew in Eddie's cup. And before he gives it to me, now I acquire it because he got the 12 ounces in Eddie's cup. That's not how it works. So whose container are we talking about that before it's filled, it still belongs to the seller, and once it's filled, it belongs to the buyer? So we're talking about using the vessel of a middleman, of a broker, a guy in between. In other words, Yigal says, use my cup to pour Yoel the Mountain Dew. But the safer, the Mishnah says, if there was a middleman, a broker in between them.
You lose something in between.
Well, there's a little man used, but you're just lending the cup. And he said, okay, I'll give you 12 ounces for my big bottle of Mountain Dew. I said, where's your cup? I said, I don't have a cup. Eddie doesn't have a cup. Yigal says, oh, I got a cup. Use my cup, right? So in that case, once you pour 12 ounces, the deal is closed. If you pour 8 ounces before it gets to 12, Eddie goes, you know what?
Change his mind.
Right. Up until 12 ounces. Exactly. Right. And that's what we're saying. But once it's full, that's basically the amount that he gave to me.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
But yeah.
A purchase between the seller and the middleman.
Everyone makes the money.
Right. A wholesaler. Right. So, right, he's like, all right, so that we'll soon see in this case. So the Gemara, let's hold on to that Nakuda for 1 second. So the Gemara says, so it says, the Gemara says, no, but the Seifa says, if there was a broker, a middleman, a wholesaler in between them, and Nishbrach Kabis, and the barrel breaks, then it breaks for this middleman, for this wholesaler. Michlal, Dereisha, Lav Sir Askinan. It sounds so over here that in the Seifa says if there's a middleman. And now if I say the words in the Seifa, if there's a middleman, Mashma, the Reisha doesn't have a middleman. So how can you suggest we're using Yigal's cup, who's a middleman, if I thought only the Seifa had the middleman and not the Reisha? So Gemara says, because the Reisha Lav Sir Askinan, so Reisha Mida below Sirsur. Seifa b'Sirsur Asmo. In the case of the Reisha, our case, Yigal is not getting involved in the transaction. He's not acquiring the Mountain Dew, and he's not selling me the Mountain Dew. He says, "Want to borrow my cup? Borrow my cup, by all means." In the case of the Seifa, when is the wholesaler is the one who loses, that's because he acquires it in between. Yigal's not acquiring this between. So one case is the guy is acquiring it and not acquiring, right? Or acquiring it and then selling it, or buying and selling it. The other case is just lending, use my cup. And that's the case of the ratio. And therefore, Mark, that gets back to your point that, yes, one of the cases is a wholesaler, if you want to call him that. And the other one happens coincidentally, he's a wholesaler, but he's not part of the transaction. He's just they're just borrowing this cup, and therefore it gives no one bias over what's being poured.
It's not
Fine.
biased. He's just not biased. There's nothing.
Right. Now, if we says so, in the case of Akiva, so remember, you pour out, it has to drip 3 drops of oil, then you can turn your cup back over and go back to your business. You've already sold let's say the gallon. I sold the guy, or whatever.
Are we saying then that the rate cup only works if it's the use of a third party's cup?
No, not it only works.
Container.
The halakha stated in our Mishnah
Yeah.
is only applicable in a third party cup. Because if it was your cup, you could always go back on the deal until I take the cup. But not just pour. Our mission says when you pour it to the top, then you go, once you get to the full amount, you can't be chayzer. Well, it depends which kli it is. If it's your kli, you can always be chayzer. And if it's my kli, even if you only pour 1 ounce, I already acquired that ounce up to the next 64 ounces.
Can you say it's not in his reshut anymore? He dismissed it from his reshut.
Well, right, but it's only when it's a full measurement
Right.
is when he basically put it in out of his reshus. But
Right.
until it gets the full measurement, it's still his reshus. But that halacha only applies in a third party situation. Now,
In the case, it was.
Hakiva, if you back Mason says builds up, then it belongs to the seller. Now, Kisolik Rabbi Elazar, Ashkenaz Zir. So he went up there to sell Rabbi Elazar. He found Zir. He says, "Oh, Amalei Mikan Tani Diasne Rav Midas. Is there anybody here who learned from Rav the Maseches Midos?" So Achve Rav Yitzchak bar Rav Dimi. They shown to Rav Yitzchak bar Rav Dimi. So Amalei Mike Kashi. So Rav Yitzchak says, "Okay, what's your problem, Rabbi Elazar? Why what do you need me for?" My coach Rav. That's not. We have another Mishnah. Herkivo Meitzis Harei Hishal Meicher. Our Mishnah says that when I'm going ahead, so let's say the case is I am selling I'm selling oil to Mark, all right? And I'm the storekeeper, whatever it is. I'm a regular guy selling it. And Mark, I have a big gallon. Mark wants 5 ounces of oil. So I put, 5 ounces in my 5 ounce measuring cup, and I pour it into Mark's. And Mark has a cup, and I pour it into there the 5. 1, 2, 3. The drips come out. Says our Mishnah. I can turn it back up, and even if there's a small buildup on the bottom as the oil comes back down, I can keep that. I don't have to, keep getting that out from Mark. So that's what our Mishnah said. Now we learn in the Mishnah.
Turn the page.
Turn the page. Vatani Kivo made so hareza truma. Now there's a halacha. The case over there is like this. Same exact case. Yoel is holding a cup of oil. Let's say 5 ounces of oil. But let's say I took the 5 ounces of oil from my truma. I made a truma for other things. So this kli right now is holding my truma. Okay. I pour it out. Okay. When I'm done pouring, I take it back. Now the truma is separated. Can I put other oil in this? Now I didn't clean it out yet. I didn't wash it down, scrub it. There's some residue, right, from oil. Can I add other oil, or do I make all that oil truma? So says the Mishnah over there. But not here, Kiva. So after 3 drops, you pour, or whatever it is, you pour it out, and then you turn it up. Hareza truma, right? It builds up. It's still truma, right? It's still truma there. Now, in other words, it's like the contents that came out, right? The contents I was pouring out was truma, and it's still truma. So wait, in our case, I'm pouring it out for Mark. When I pour it back, the residue should be the same as the I pour it. It should be Mark's. So why is it mine? Why does the seller get to keep it? It should be Mark's if it's the same case as the Mishnah. So that's what he's troubled with. So can someone explain this? So he says, answered Rav Yitzchak bar Abdimi. He says, no, the special halach. The halach is that the contents of the residue that come back is just like that which went out. So why does a seller get to keep it and not Mark? Because the answer is Yehush Bailam. Mark says, I want 5 ounces. Pour me 5 ounces, right? So he knows, Mark knows he's getting a cup. I'm going to take a cup of oil, measure my measuring cup of 5 ounces, and pour it into his cup. Mark knows that if I measure here at 5, he's probably going to get 4.98. So therefore, nevertheless, he has Yehush. He doesn't care. He gives up on that part. So therefore, since he doesn't give up part, that's why it belongs to the measurement. In the case of Truma, there is no Yehush, and therefore it remains Truma. Fine. Then we said, now we said, A regular seller has to wait 3 drops. This is the Tanakama. Then this is the first sheet, right? And then he says that's case 1. Case number 2 is a storekeeper does not have to wait 3 drops because it takes too long. Rabbi Yehuda comes in at the end of the Mishnah. He says, Erev Shabbos, you don't have to. He's pater from waiting 3 drops. Erev Shabbos, you don't have to. Who doesn't have to? Now, what's the case?
How long is 3 drops take?
Huh?
How long is 3 drops take? 1 second?
Bloop. Bloop.
Oh, 50. Okay.
Bloop.
7 seconds.
Okay, but he has a long line of people, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe everyone's, look, I'm an impatient person. If everyone's patient like you, then maybe. So anyway, Rabbi Huda Reisha is Rabbi Huda going a Reisha Ulakula and Kula that he said the Reisha says that regular people have to go ahead and pour out 3 ounces, and comes Rabbi Huda and says, by the way, a regular person only has to do that, let's say 5 days a week, but on Friday, Erev Shabbos, he doesn't have to. Oh, or maybe Dilma Seifa, maybe he's going on the Seifa, which says a storekeeper goes ahead and does 3 ounces, and then comes in. That's ulachumra. And maybe over here he says no. Maybe according to Rabbi Yehuda says that the storekeeper only every day, and comes Rabbi Yehuda says no. Storekeeper only doesn't have to do the 3 drops on Friday, but regular time he does, and therefore he would argue with the what's it called? He'd argue with Tanakama. So when answer touch about, come listen to Tanya Rabbi Yehuda. Erev Shabbos and Vani Pater. Rabbi Yehuda says only on Erev Shabbos is a shopkeeper pater for pouring out the 3 drops, but during the week he has to because the Chavani is tar. So therefore, according to Rabbi Yehuda, during the week the shopkeeper has to, but on Friday he doesn't. Mashma that according to the Tanakama that the shopkeeper never does 3 even during the week. Fine. Next Mishnah. Mishnah says
Full service gas station. That's the wait.
the 3 drops. Yeah, exactly. Right, exactly. But not on Friday. Oh, it depends, right? If it's a regular person selling his own gas, and then so depending on how you learn the Mishnah. Hashaleach has b'nai tzachemani. One who goes ahead, Mayor takes sends his son.
Joey.
Sent Joey. I assume Joey's what, 9 or 10 or so? How old is Joey? 16. Okay, so Joey's out of it. Give me like an 8-year-old. Yeah, Simi. All right, Mayor goes ahead. He sends his son Simi. He goes ahead and he goes to Randy's store. Right now, he comes with a coin, a dollar coin, or let's say it's a 50-cent coin. Right? What does he do? Now, Stimmy comes to Randy's store and he says, "Here, I have a dollar bill. I want to buy 50 cents, right? Which is a pundayon, is like the double. I want to go ahead and buy oil for half of this, for 50 cents. So if I need change. So he goes to Randy. Randy gives him his change. He gives him his isser. He gives to the child an isser. He gives the child the oil, and the kid goes back. The also has isser, and Shiva says sluchis. And then Simi goes ahead and he breaks the glass. But his isser. Not only that, adds insult to injury. He broke the glass. He lost the oil, and he dropped the coin. 0 for 3. Chenvani Chayv says that Rabbanan Tanakama, the Chenvani, Randy is responsible. Why? Because he gave Mayor stuff to a child, and that child is not a shayner. Rabbi Yehuda, Pater. Rabbi Yehuda says Pater. Why? Shamanaz Kain Shilchu. Says Rabbi Yehuda, no, Pater. Why is Randy Pater? Because Mayor chose his son to be his shaliach. Mayor sent his kid to the store to go ahead and get the oil. So obviously Mayor is approving of giving the flask and the money and the oil to his son, and therefore he should be pater. However, the Chachamim agree with Rabbi Yehuda. When, we assume that I have to explain this case, right? Basically, when the kid is holding the flask, the glass flask, and then he pours it in, umadad, kanvani l'seicha, shekavani pater. Which one?
In the first part.
Because why did he send it with a child, with a minor, with a cousin?
I'm saying it was the person who sent his son, mayor sent his son, he should be fired.
But who's let's see.
The Chalani should have said, "You're a little kid, you can't handle it." Why?
Right.
And he should have control himself.
So let's see. Hold that question. The Gemara gives the answer, gives their svar. We'll give a So now this last case says that if Randy didn't take the glass, he just poured it into the kid's glass, and the kid went and lost the oil, lost the money. So Randy's still responsible for the money. Shouldn't have given the cut and the money. Randy shouldn't have given the cut the oil. He left the store. The Randy shouldn't have given the kid the oil, shouldn't give the money.
Right.
But the Randy never took the glass from the kid. And therefore, when the kid broke it, it's on Randy. So we have to understand whose glass is it anyway. We'll get to it. Now, let's go to the Gemara. Smack him on the page, pay Zion and Bays. Gemara. So Bishlama Isser V'Shema. I understand by with the coin, the Isser and the oil, Pligi, there's the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan Svuri, Alan Snuff, there's the Rabbanan say, Aduye Shadre. Basically, Mayor sent his son to tell Randy that his father wants to buy oil and buy oil. Not that he should go ahead and get the oil.
Changing the include to the kids.
What?
Changing their school.
You're not changing. How do you see? Hashaleach is look at the Mishnah. Hashaleach has been no Eitzach Chavani. That's probably why the Marshal takes out the lashon Padon B'Yodom, right? He sent him to the store, and all of a sudden the guy's coming back, right? So maybe send him to the store to tell him. Huh? Or in the Gemara. No. The Marshal, you see the parentheses. It says Padon B'Yodom. That could be why. Because he sent him with nothing, just to tell him. Rabbi Yehuda suffered. Rabbi Yehuda hell. Shadre. Rabbi Yehuda said no. Oh, the father sent the son as a shaliach. That's the machlokes over there. Ella shiva suchis, but breaking the glass of the aveda midasi. If Meir is sending the kid with the glass, okay, then Meir obviously doesn't care about the glass. He's trusting a cotton, so therefore, it's already considered to be basically broken. So when Randy goes ahead and pours oil in it or sends the kid back with it, he should be punted.
Proves in fact setting the class that he wants them actually to do it, not just forming.
Right, but he shouldn't have done it.
That's what's coming part of that would actually be a strange thing for him. If case actually wasn't sent to class.
Right.
Why would some say that if somebody's hired?
Something that say you're chayiv, but in that case, that Randy is chayiv. But even according to that, he shouldn't be chayiv for the glass because the glass was already broken. The oil wasn't lost yet by the fire, So I'm over here. We're gonna start off. Mayor is so till now, Mayor sent this kid, he took a cup from his cupboard and he sent the glass there to go ahead and get it. That was what he said until now. Now we're changing it. Mayor sells jars for a living. He's a jar dealer, not a drug dealer, a jar dealer.
Let's change the game.
Now, so now as the kid brings now to Randy's store, now Bayer sends the glass with his kid the jar because he wants the kid to go ahead and sell to the storekeeper. Let's go ahead and make another account. So Randy goes ahead and takes the jar to inspect it. One goes ahead and takes the kli from Uman to go ahead and verify it. He'll take a look at it. Almanas levako to check it out. The nenas beyond, and something happens in his hand. Then he's chayiv. Then he is chayiv because the is having his hand. Now in this case, once Randy takes it to inspect it, he has to return it to Mayor. But he can't return it with a child. He has to return it to Mayor, not to a kid. So therefore, that's the reason why he be chayiv. So the Gemara says, okay. That's the Mishnah Levi to Shmuel tonight. So tonight is says machlokes tonight. Over here we're talking about Randy. The kid just came to the store. It was Randy's glass. It was Randy's jar of oil. The other Rabbi Yehuda Tami, Rabbi Yehuda goes to Shitasa, the Rabbanon Temayu, and Rabbanon goes to Tamayu. According to Rabbi Yehuda, the kid came. And he brought the glass in the jars, says fill it up. So therefore, it's the father's fault for sending the kid, and for Randy's putter. And according to the Tanakama, no. The kid came with nothing. He was just supposed to go ahead and tell him, hey, my dad wants oil, but he wasn't supposed to give him the oil and the money. That's on Randy. So one says, "Ihachi." I'm a save. Look at the save. It says, "Ma'adim could come to Rabbi Yehuda. Bizmash that sluch is biyad hatina umadav kanvani l'seicha shekavani putter." The Chum would agree right? To Rabbi Yehuda, the time when the Randy didn't touch the glass, right? It wasn't his; he just poured it in. That Randy's potter. I understand. Why is the glass in the kid's hand in the first place? According to the Rabbanan, he never sent the glass. Obviously, Randy gave the glass to the kid. Randy should be chayiv. So Abaye bar Avin Rabbi Chanina bar Avin Damar Tavai both say Alchemaskina. I know here we talk about a couple more lines. I know it's getting a little late. So Kagon, actually not that late. All right, Kagon Shenatla Lobud Ba. All right, over here we're talking about a case of when he took it to go ahead. And, well, no, it's not like it's no one knows a sale. Randy doesn't sell jars. Mayor doesn't sell jars. Rather, go back to the case where Mayor sent this kid with the glass. Kagon Shenatla. So in other words, the case of where Randy goes ahead and takes it, he goes ahead and to measure it. Damarabba, he's chayiv. In other words, like this. One who goes ahead and takes something, so therefore Randy took it to go ahead and pour it in there. And like the case of Rabba, Damarabba, right? So quick case over there. I was talking about a case of where an older person is not chayiv for Shabbos Aveda, because it's beneath his dignity. Now, let's say, so he's putter, but let's say there's an animal walking by, someone lost his cow, and an old man kicks it, and the animal goes further away. Now, he wasn't chayiv to return it, but once he kicks it, he's now causing the potentially the animal to be farther away from its owner who's looking for it. So now he's chayiv to go ahead and return it. So once you see that he gets involved, he's chayiv. So too in our case, right? We should say that once he becomes in his hands, so now Randy should be chayiv in this case, not potter, right? So yeah, but that's the only case of maybe animals, right? And over here, because the one who hits the animal, he caused it to go ahead farther. However, but in this case, right, it wasn't on the flask. Maybe it's not on Randy. So maybe Rabba would agree. Rava. Ani v'ari shebechura targime. Me and the other big lion, the other big, baldas in the shear. We explained it. And Manu, who was that? That was Reb Zera. Hakamai Eskina. What's the case over here? Mayor's kid came to the store to get the glass. I understand it's on Mayor. Really, Mayor should be responsible. But what happened? Randy took the glass and he's going to pour oil in and give it back, and take for the kid. But Randy first used it for something else. He had somebody else in the store, right? Yigal came to the store and he also wanted oil. So he says before he said to his kid, hold on 1 minute. Give me your glass for a second. Let me use it. Let me borrow it and pour for Yigal. Then I'll give it back to you and give you. Because here we're talking about borrowing without permission. Now Randy is borrowing Mayor's jar without permission, right? The son can't authorize the use of it for that. So now, what is this person? So Marsav Shel Habi. So you can say Rabbi Yehuda holds that he's like a bower, and therefore a bower over here in this case, he would be putter because Randy in this case basically returned it to where it was, and therefore he returned to where it was if it would be acceptable. However, well, Marsav Gazanu. But according to the other opinion, according to the Tanakama, Randy is a Gazan. A person who borrows without permission is a Gazan. Therefore, the Randy is no longer a Gazan only when he takes the glass and gives it back to Mayor. Now, when he takes the glass, he gives it to the kid. So therefore, since he gave it to the kid, Randy, who was a Gazlan, because he borrowed without permission, and he has to return to Mayor. He didn't. Therefore, Randy's responsible. But according to the Tanakama, according to Rabbi Yehuda, Randy's only a bower. A bower, he got it from the kid's hand, just return it to the kid's hand, and therefore he would be putter in that case. And that's my question, Rabbi Yehuda and the Tanakama. Stop here.
All these cases in these stores.
With a store.